Well, I don't really like the rain. Any cold, wet thing, I don't really.
But you like them nuts, though. Twilight is one of those weird guilty pleasures that you look back on and you're like, oh my god, I remember this. And it's just as cringy as the first time I saw it. Twilight was actually really bad. And I don't just mean the movie. The actual stories, the behavior of the characters, a lot of it just does not make sense. So let's go back down memory lane and see just how cringy it was.
You better hold on tight, spider monkey.
Also, I decided to change it up, and since we're on the topic of vampires, I decided to play a new game called V Rising, which is a really awesome game. You guys should definitely try it out on Steam if you have the chance. So our main character, Bella, moves from Arizona to a place called Forks, where her father lives and is a chief police. It is said to be the rainiest place in the whole of the United States, and there's barely any sun. Since her mom and dad split up, she hasn't seen Charlie, her dad, for a long time. Charlie is just as awkward as Bella is, but he only opens up to the people he's known for a long time, like Billy Black, one of his best friends, and his son Jacob, who grew up with Bella.
Hi, I'm Jacob.
What an awkward interaction. I mean, it's cute on one hand, but just very awkward on the other. Not gonna lie, one of the best things about Twilight was Bella's father. 'Cause damn.
Oh my gosh! This is perfect.
She's excited about getting this fossilized truck, but sorely embarrassed when she gets to school and everyone is laughing. Because you know who laughs at a freaking car? Now it's actually cool to own a truck like that.
So you gotta double pump the clutch when you shift, but besides that, you should be good.
They rebuilt the engine, but they couldn't fix the clutch? I may be misunderstanding, and at first I thought they meant the double clutch technique, but I think that Jacob meant the truck is a piece of shit, so the clutch sticks. Also, I think in that specific truck, the clutch is supposed to be higher up on the steering wheel. Bella Swan's truck is a 1963 Chevy pickup truck, which not only has a manual transmission, but I believe it was also a 3-on-the-tree transmission. Now, I can drive stick, and I can tell you right now that if I were to get inside that truck and someone not show me how to shift it, I would be freaking confused, at least at first. I've seen several manual transmission cars and trucks, but never one that had that style of transmission. So the fact that she's asking him where the clutch is means that even if Charlie or her mom had taught her to drive stick, or she taught herself, she would not know how to just readily drive it. So then a more realistic conversation would be Jacob asking her, hey, do you know how to drive this style transmission? No. And then him instructing her, and then if you want to cut away from her stalling the vehicle several times, this is providing that she even knows how to drive manual at all, then that would make better sense. Or just don't have them mention car stuff at all. But it would make sense to add this kind of information in since Jacob is a mechanic. But I'm willing to play devil's advocate and just assume that since Bella grew up with Jacob, that she's had some kind of experience with different types of transmission, because otherwise this makes absolutely no sense and is totally not relatable. I know that Stephenie Meyer was trying to make this wooden vapid character relatable to everyone, but you see, I did read the books, and mind you, I did so after I watched the movie, but I already could not stand her character, and the books just made me hate her. Thank goodness they filtered all of that out of the movie, because when you see what's in Bella's mind, you would think she's the villain of the story. They try to make her a relatable character, however when she comes to the school, every single person is looking at her. I don't know if this is supposed to be from her perspective, because from an outward perspective it looks so unrealistic. She's an average looking person. Hell, I'm an average looking person. And the only time that people are staring at me is if I have form-fitting clothes or a little cleavage. However, if I'm dressed like Bella is here, I fall into the backdrop like everybody else. She's wearing a gigantic octopus coat. She has no ass. For all intents and purposes, from the back, she looks androgynous. So I don't understand why everybody who hasn't even seen her face is staring at her as she walks by. I think I know what they're going for, but it just ends up making the character look full of herself and it's not realistic. Granted, this is a movie about vampires and werewolves, but there is some ounce of realism that has to be had so that people can believe it. Maybe it's because she's a new girl and everybody recognizes she's a face that they'd never seen before, or maybe it's because her face is really pale. I have no idea. But it doesn't warrant the logic of every single person who passes by staring at her. It would have made more sense and would have been way more believable if she were some Ugandan foreign exchange student, because then she would look exotic and vastly different than the majority in that school. But she honestly just looks like everybody else and is dressed and looks like somebody who would just fall into the backdrop of a crowd.
Isabel Swan, the new girl. Hi, I'm Eric, the eyes and ears of this place.
She's Jesus Christ, why is it in every single one of these movies you have someone coming out and saying, hey, I'm the ears and eyes and I know all the latest gossip, as if the new person really cares about all of that. I know they're trying to make them feel welcoming, but honestly, it's very smothering. Don't ever do this to new students.
Anything you need? Tour guide, lunch date, shoulder to cry on?
Oh my god, cringe. So anyway, a guy named Eric comes out to her, and for some reason everybody that meets her already knows her name. Is she a VIP or something? Do these people not get out much that the highlight of their life is the new student? In the book, it's even worse because everyone just fawns all over her like she's a newborn baby. It's so freaking cringy. And when I say cringy, I mean freaking cringe. This would honestly be my nightmare if I came to a new school and all of a sudden people were just flocking me and making advances. If you're already at the school, then it's whatever. But being an introvert and having it happen with several people is very embarrassing, especially when you're the kind of person that doesn't necessarily want to hurt people's feelings. And some of these characters, oh my god, I swear to goodness I have secondhand embarrassment for them. Just look at how as they're talking, everyone is turning to look at her as they're talking. I don't understand. I really don't get it. Does she have some kind of magical powers that makes her sparkle or something? Why did the movie makers think that this would be a good creative decision? If you want her to be relatable, then don't have every single person that walks by her stare at her like she's got Jennifer Lopez's ass. Ew! Even that teacher back there, because he is way too old to be a student, was staring as well. Look at her! Maybe he's just looking in the direction, but look at this freaking dude. Seriously, look at all the people. You may think I'm paranoid or something, but I swear to goodness, it was super obvious the first time around, and it's super obvious now. They're all staring at her. Unless the other guy has something on his back that we can't see. What would have honestly made this more believable is if they had chosen a drop-dead beauty to play Bella, but they didn't. Maybe they were trying to recreate the scene from Beauty and the Beast with the main character, Belle, as she's reading and saying hi to everyone. And honestly, that works because everyone already knew her and it's a Disney movie. Not only that, but she was vastly different from everyone else and it was so clear because everyone knew her. And don't think it's lost on me. Bella Swan. Anyway, later Bella is in gym class and she's just useless. I honestly don't know how to be relatable to this character, and maybe that's because I love to play sports, but most people wouldn't just stand around there like idiots. And I can understand if this was her only thing, but she doesn't know how to do anything. She seriously is just an NPC trying to pretend that she's a main character. I've seen her in the movie Room and she's not like this. Maybe it's bad direction, and I really hope that's the case, because if they specifically and purposefully told her to act this way, because that's how the character's supposed to be, I wholeheartedly believe that they were trying to nuke her career. Bella manages to deflect the ball reflexively, shocking, I know, and she hits the head of the new character, Mike. This guy. This guy has enough cringe to fill up every room in the building of his school. They're just some characters that you honestly just feel bad for whenever you see them on screen. And he's one of them. Everyone feels like they're putting on a play.
Whoa!
I'm sorry. I told them not to let me play.
Oh, wait. No, that's don't.
Oh my god, I hit my head! But it's okay, because oh my god, I don't get out much and you're a new piece of meat that I can probably get lucky with because you're not from here. I'm assuming that everyone knows who she is because they've seen her picture in the school newspaper, but she wasn't featured, so why would they even remember her face? Does everyone read the school newspaper? I know I didn't. I didn't care. And I can tell you that most students don't care, so even if that was the case and her face was in there, she's not a freaking celebrity. So how is it that every single person on God's green earth knows who she is?
You're Isabella, right?
Just Bella.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Mike Newton.
Oh.
Yep, I'm convinced she's an NPC character. You know when you play those old Japanese games like Monster Rancher and you're the main character and everyone talks to you but you can't? That's what Bella is.
She's got a great spike, huh? I'm Jessica, by the way.
I love how Jessica was in the background, just losing her shit watching him say hello to Bella because she's obviously in love with him, and she's panicking. She knows that this is your one and only chance to center yourself into this conversation and remind this dude that you exist.
Hey, you're from Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Aren't people from Arizona supposed to be, like, really tan?
Now looking back at this movie, I'm not sure whether or not she meant for that to be an insult, but it's clear that Jessica does not like her, at least initially, because she sees her as a threat to Mike, or to her and Mike. This is one of the only interactions in the entire movie that I find funny, because it's not because the main character is hilarious, it's because Jessica, who I believe is the girl from Pitch Perfect, is more relatable than the main character who we're supposed to be rooting for, and her reactions are so awkward and so sarcastic that it makes me laugh.
Aren't people from Arizona supposed to be, like, really tan.
Maybe that's why they kicked me out.
You're good.
That's so funny.
I honestly think it would have been way more entertaining and relatable had this girl been the main character. She's still awkward and sort of clumsy and ditzy, and mostly what the author was going for. One thing she's not is boring. Nothing spells unrelatable as boring. I will give it this. In the book, Bella was just being a straight up bitch. She was a disgusting person and she has some serious issues. She really makes you really dislike her to the point of hatred in the books because of her distasteful personality. In the movie, she makes you dislike her, but you feel as though it's lost on the character because she doesn't even have any qualities to dislike. Okay, that came out wrong. What I'm trying to say is, unlike the book, she has no personality. She feels like an 80-year-old woman who has given up on life living in a teenage body. She talks sometimes, and when the words are coming out of her mouth, it sounds like it hurts for her to say them. Everyone is so warm to her, and she's so cold to them. Ironically, the vampires have more personality than this person. After having watched What We Do in the Shadows, I'm 100% convinced that she's an energy vampire. At the cafeteria, Bella sits with all her new friends, and seriously, I hate all the other characters for the simple fact that they swarm Bella in the most cringiest and unrealistic ways. It's like people fighting over a bladder stone.
Like this crazy pyramid fall from the sky and then...
It's my pleasure, madame.
Imagine being this poor girl, Jessica, who is in love with an idiot, who is in love with someone else who's not even in love with him. And she's just hoping that he'll notice her, but she couldn't be any more out there and apparent, and she's still invisible to him. Anyway, this scene is one of the most awkward scenes. When I look back at this movie, I can't understand why for the life of me people made movies like this. Was this on the fly, or did the director specifically tell people to do this? Because good grief.
Hey, Mikey, you met my homegirl Bella.
Oh, your homegirl.
Yeah.
My girl. Sorry, I had to mess up the game, Mike.
Tyler.
Wow. Actually, I'm not even gonna lie, because I can attest that some guys acted like this in high school, but it's usually not to this extreme because, you know, people actually want to look cool and not be made fun of. This is usually an elementary thing. Jessica is obviously envious of Bella and says she's like the shiny new toy, and this is like first grade all over again.
Shiny new toy. Smile. Okay.
Imagine being an introvert and you are thrown into this much socialization all at once, having just been kissed on the cheek by some stranger as three boys fight over you while everyone is watching, and then have a flash in your face on top of being within a group of people who are also kind of fawning all over you. I got anxiety just from watching this. When I hang out with my group of friends, it's usually a smaller group, at most 7, at most, but it's usually 2 or 3 other people, and they're usually people that are into stuff that I'm into. We all like video games, we all like sci-fi movies, tech, but it was usually gamers and goths that I hung around. Our energies all matched each other's energy because even though we all had different personalities, I never felt as though I didn't belong there, or artsy people too. All of these people at the table are out of Bella's league, and her internal monologue from the stories paint her as this mega narcissist who sees herself above everyone, which is highly unrelatable. Anyway, when Eric gets up and leaves, that's when the other stars of the movie make their appearance. Yay! Jessica and the girl from The Walking Dead start telling Bella about this weird family called the Cullens. Honestly, this is like maybe the 5th time watching this movie, and I did not notice that there was an entire other girl there at the table with them. Eric had been talking to her before Bella sat down. She's a girl with like acne on her face that the camera just never shows, which is so messed up because after a while it's like, why is she there? Maybe she's just hanging out in the background. Hell, the story probably would have been way more interesting had it been told from her perspective. Somebody who is quiet and invisible to everyone and then gains the love of a vampire, aka the popular rich kids of the school. So anyway, Jessica tells her about the Cullens. Carlisle and Esme, a husband and wife who adopted all these kids that do not look like kids. Rosalie and Emmett, the popular girl and jock, and then Jasper and Alice. Honestly, I'm looking at all these people with this horrible clown makeup on, and they look like they're all 40. Even Alice. Then in comes the main character, the other main character, and everyone drops their panties over for some reason. I hate how Bella looks as though she's forgotten to breathe when she sees him.
Who's he?
If I was if I was sitting next to her and she made that fucking sound while looking at him, I would want to move. Dude, keep that shit to yourself. Ugh. Stop jizzing next to your friends. Why does she do that? Why does she need to breathe like that? This is not a freaking anime. It's very cringy. And I don't know why the music that plays when Edward is the last one who's the 5th wheel walks in is just so uncomfortably awkward for me.
That's Edward Cullen.
Because I think that they like played it in the anticipation that the fans of the book would be screaming at that point in the movie theater, but it's, ew, not that serious. Jessica mentions that he's gorgeous and that nobody's good enough there for him, implying that she got turned down. And you see, that would have been a more interesting story.
He's totally gorgeous, obviously. But apparently nobody here is good enough for him.
He's obviously listening to her. But yeah, it would have been so interesting if Jessica had been the main character, and then him, of course, liking her in the end, because you always have to have the main character fall in love with the other prettier character and then realize that he actually wants the basic bitch, even though, you know, they're not anywhere near that person's league, and he would like flip heaven and earth to be with it. It's just so unrealistic. I know I keep saying that and it's a fantasy, but there are so many other fantasy stories that make it believable, make us believe it. It's supposed to be an escape, and it doesn't work if we don't feel like we're escaping, if we can see through the veil and know what the magic trick is and how it works. When Bella goes to her class, she finds out that Edward and her are in the same one, and when he catches her disgusting scent, he almost dies. Then for the entirety of the class, he just stares at her for the whole time like he's a psycho. It's not lost on me that the owl wings make him look like a fallen angel, and while that was probably an accidental shot, I guess I left it in there because it's perfect. Nothing like a psycho staring into your soul to get the high school girl's panties dropping. I don't remember who I watched this with, but oh my god, she was like, oh my god, he's so cute! And while he is attractive, his behavior really isn't. I mean, I'm all for the dark monsters types as well, but I think the reason why it rubbed me the wrong way is because how everybody else was behaving over it, like screaming and like, ew, stop. Like they've never stepped out of their houses and had any human interaction before. Had an ugly person been doing this, there would have been a completely different reaction. If you ever want to know if a behavior is okay, imagine what it would look like on someone you're not attracted to doing it. Chances are, if you don't like it when the ugly person is doing it, you shouldn't like it when the attractive person is doing it either. Of course, Edward is a vampire, so all of his sins are forgiven, right? And he's a cute one too. The romanticization of vampires does not flow on over to people who look like Danny DeVito who get turned into vampires. When the class is almost over, it looks like he's splooging in his pants or something, and then he just rushes out. Okay, you need to clean up on aisle 9. Bella has lunch with her father and meets her father's friend Wayland, who she doesn't remember because last time she was here, she was 4 years old. Wayland is supposed to be her father's really good friend, but they don't seem like it. He seems more like best friends with Billy Black, Jacob's dad, than he does with this guy. Later, Bella talks to her mom on the phone to tell her about how she's doing. Based on what I know about the backstory, her mom is married to like her third husband and is traveling the world with him so he can play baseball or teach baseball or whatever. When her mom asks her if the people at school are being nice to her, Bella says very sarcastically,
Well, they're all very welcoming.
Uh-oh.
which is very unfair because everybody has been licking her boots since she's been there. But that one boy / man who doesn't worship the ground she walks on like everybody else, and all of a sudden, everyone is horrible. She notices that day, for several days, Edward Cullen does not show up for school. She's so caught up in wondering where he is because she wanted to confront him and ask him what his problem was, to the point that she doesn't even want to hang out with her friends, even though they're inviting her places, but everyone's horrible, right? The other Cullens seem to notice her and seem to be talking about her based on their lips moving and them looking at her all strange. So this means Edward might have said something to them about her. Something along the lines of her bang bang smells like rotten oranges. During Edward's absence, a man is killed after being hunted down by these humanoids. And since Bella's father is chief of police, he's on top of that case. He and his team are saying that it's an animal, but we clearly see that it's not, because it's human beings that are hunting these victims.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good. Ice doesn't really help the uncoordinated.
I wonder if that was a legitimate fall. It seemed like it. I think they kept that in, and I will commend the movie for that. I mean, her father does say afterwards that he has some new tires that he just put on the truck. He just drove it back there because the old ones were getting bald. So either he came up with that on the spot because he seems to be a way better actor than all the people in the movie, or they did several takes with Bella falling on her ass. I don't think this was the case because who wants their actors to be injured, and it really doesn't add anything to the story. Oh well. This is when Charlie tells her that there's an animal out there killing people, and Bella's like, an animal? A bear. Could have just been a random cougar or a bear or something. Anyway, apparently it's usually rainy and overcast in this area, so it's something that everybody's used to, which would honestly be very depressing to me. At school, Eric is about to ask Bella out for prom because, of course, these interactions are so weird that I feel like I'm watching a nature documentary.
I was wondering, did you have a date to...
What's up, Arizona, huh? How you liking the rain, girl? Better get used to it, girl.
Yeah, Mike, hey, you're real cute, man.
So he totally cockblocks this guy's advances to ask her out because he probably plans on asking her out himself because why not, you know? NPC Ice Vendor 2000 is the dream girl at the top of everybody's list. For all we know, maybe every other girl rejected these guys, so they're feeding at the bottom of the barrel like freaking piranhas at the first hint of crumbs that fall into the water. Okay, it's kind of mean. But seriously, if they had cast Scarlett Johansson, then all this behavior would have been warranted. I don't know how old Scarlett was when this movie came out, but it doesn't matter because everyone here is definitely not high school age. People going to high school and trying to play it off like they're 16, while they look like they're anywhere from 30 to 40 something years old. Finally, Bella sees that Edward is back, and that's when he decides to introduce himself, and we immediately notice that his eyes are a different color.
Hello? I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce myself.
What kind of hello was that? Wow, what in the baked bread and piranha juice?
Hello?
My name is Jeff.
I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce myself last week. I'm Edward Cullen. You're Bella?
Because everyone knows her name, even people that are not in her class. I know that Robert Pattinson is a decent actor, but good grief, his acting skills in this movie were just non-existent. I understand why this was one of his biggest regrets in his career. Whenever he talks about Twilight, he does not look upon it very fondly, especially when you consider that the actor for Bella actually started dating Robert Pattinson, claiming that he was her first love. I don't know if it was exactly love, because she ended up cheating on Robert with her director Rupert Sanders and was seen kissing him. This, of course, crushed Robert, and I will say that Kristen Stewart is staying very true to her character because her character in Twilight was very vapid. What made things worse is that she turned it around by saying that she didn't have a lot of love, a lot of experiences because Robert was her first love and she wanted to experience the world, and it was absurd how everyone was slut-shaming her. I know this didn't take place inside the movie, but I just find it so interesting that when a girl cheats on a guy and people call her out on it, she cries victim and says people are slut-shaming, but if a guy were to do it, he's a piece of shit and people don't want to work with him anymore. Just very weird, just something I noticed. Anyway, so yeah, aside from his horrible acting in the Twilight movie, he also has a memory of the person he fell in love with getting dicked down by somebody else. I think, like most people did, he wanted this movie to just go away so badly. It would be interesting if they remade this franchise with different people.
You're Bella?
Yes.
Why does Bella talk like she's drowning in her own bodily fluids? I swear to God, it's one of the things I absolutely hate about the character. I hated Edward's awkward behavior and delivery of his lines, but I hated even more her awkward way of speaking as though she's an alien wearing a human's body and struggling to make the vocal cords work. Seriously, who talks like this? Anyway, she goes on to saying that she doesn't like the rain and she doesn't like cold, wet things, which is kind of ironic considering that there is gonna be something cold and wet. Never mind, we'll save that for later. So Edward tries to make conversation with her because he finds it strange that someone who doesn't like cold and wet things would move to the wettest place in the continental US, according to his claim. And of course, instead of answering the question like a normal human being, she once again lacks the intelligence to adequately draw in oxygen so she can speak properly.
So you're enjoying the rain?
Take a breath, learn how to use your lungs. Anyways, he seems to be really interested in making conversation with her, and clearly he's into her, or sort of, but she just comes off as so freaking weird. This is coming from me, somebody who's weird as hell, and is very aware of it, but holy horseback ass crack. She's having a conversation with him, and then she just starts staring at him like she wants to devour him, which is also ironic given that the guy's a vampire. Ew. so freaking gross, bro. Later, he barrages her with more questions because he says he's trying to figure it out because she's very difficult for him to read. Then out of nowhere, she changes the subject and asks him if he got contacts. If this is the first time she's noticing that his eyes have changed color with how obsessed she is over him, she's an idiot. They were sitting together in class staring into each other's eyes for the most of the time, and she's just now realizing this. Instead of answering the question with a yes, because you know, you would think that a vampire who's lived a long time would understand the concept of lying in order to protect a secret, he gives the weirdest and most awkward excuse for why his eyes are a different color than they were before. It's not like he's incapable of lying to her because he's done it later and several times in the franchise in order to protect her or for other reasons. So you'd think he'd do the same here.
Hey, did you get contacts?
No.
Golden brown.
Yeah, I know. It's the fluorescence.
Okay? What in the world? The fluorescence? Dude, really? He's so accustomed already to lying to humans, him and his family. They put on a show so people don't realize that they're vampires. You're in high school. Many people have contacts. It doesn't ever enter your mind to answer her question with the affirmation she even lays out for you plainly? Did they not have a family discussion about their eyes and what they should say when people ask them certain questions? Human beings that are trying to escape from the law or have new identities with their families in the witness protection program even go through that to try and get their story straight. People who have been in crappy relationships even have a story. Why is your face black and blue? Oops, I fell. Why is your arm broken? I slipped. Why are your boobs missing? My dog ate my homework. You should always have a scripted response if this is not your first time doing this. These vampires apparently have been going to high school for, well, many times, and we see proof of that when Edward takes Bella to his house later to show her all of the graduation caps. This is how many times they've been to high school. I'm assuming it's high school. I mean, it could be college too, but regardless of whether or not those caps represent high school or a mixture of high school and universities, what is very clear is that this is not the vampire's first rodeo. So later, Edward and his family are all staring at Bella because she's freaking weird and because it seems as though the majority of this movie is staring and breathing. And then drama happens. The guy that kissed Bella on the cheek loses control of his vehicle because he's going way too fast in a parking lot and because some asshole is pulling out without looking. And it's not lost on Bella that Edward Cullens seemingly teleported into her location and Superman blocked the van from crushing her. Can we appreciate how well made these old vehicles are? This is why I love them. I mean, they're awesome cars when it comes to fender benders, but like fatality when it comes to like falling off a cliff or something. Seriously, you have an old car like this, it gets a dent, all you gotta do is pop it back out and it's good. So, oh my god. He jumps out of there and everyone is watching, you know, what's going on. They were watching from the beginning and sees him jumping from out of the area and thinks nothing of it. What about the people that were near Edward Cullen or who happened to be looking at him before he vampire super speeded into Bella's location? Did they not find it odd that the guy was there 1 minute? Like they're all looking directly at him at times, facing him. He's gorgeous. A lot of people like him. Seriously? Nobody was wondering why he was there 1 second and then not the next. Did no one question why Edward ran away from the scene? Let's just chalk it up to people thinking he was frightened and wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible, even though nobody would be running away from a situation like that unless it was very morbid. Everyone knew where Bella was. They were all calling her name as they were running to the scene. Some people must have seen that Edward had not been with her, whatever.
Yo, I'm so sorry. I panicked.
Oh my god, what is with the shoddy, stupid music? What is this, the 1970s? This music feels so out of place for the situation. We got this bumping rock score that sounds like it's mixed with some punk. And it's not the kind of thing I would be playing if someone just found out that someone else was a vampire or a superhuman X-Men thing after having almost been killed, which resulted in the vampire person saving them. And I remember the first time I heard it playing and I was just as annoyed then as I am now. It's so dated. Anyway, Bella is taken to the clinic and her dad is anxious to see if she's okay. Understandably, he's mad at the driver, who to be fair was speeding in wet conditions in a parking lot. This is where we meet Carlisle Cullen, the doctor of the school and the foster father of Edward Cullen and all the other vampiric teeny bop-de-doos. He honestly doesn't look all that attractive to me. He just looks freaky. They make it seem as though all these vampires are so attractive, but to me, they're not. They just look like people who went swimming in a bucket of cocaine. There are several times throughout the entirety of this movie where you can see the white makeup washing off the vampires or like melting off their faces. It looks so dumb. You can see their flesh peeking through the foundation. I've seen old movies from my parents' time that did an even better job than this movie did with the makeup department. There are close-up scenes of their eyes, like sometimes, and you can tell that they're wearing contacts because you can see the outline of the contacts and they think nobody else will notice. There are close-up scenes of their face when their faces are white because they're supposed to be pale face, but their ears and neck are red and it just looks like they're all auditioning to be the Joker. You can tell very obviously that the makeup is melting off of them, and so it becomes very apparent that they're in whiteface. It looks horrible. Honestly, I think Vampire Diaries did a much better job with their vampires. And it's much more scary because you'll never know that they're vampires just by looking at them. So they literally can camouflage themselves among the prey. God damn. Freaking Damon Salvatore. Freaking hate you. I hate these freaking shows. Note to self, I never finished watching the show. Just an FYI, this girl came here looking for her boyfriend. This guy's his brother. Careful, guys. Careful, gentlemen. Careful, because chances are, if you got a brother that looks like this, you bring your girl around and you're not there, blood is not going to be thick enough to stop him from making his landing. I think later on in the franchise, because Robert Pattinson didn't like wearing all that stupid makeup anyway, they toned it down quite a bit, and honestly, it looks much better. So Carlisle comes in to check up on Bella. Oh my god, dude, you can see that his neck is a completely different color from his face. You can even see the parts where they kind of missed. For the love of God, if you're gonna do close-up shots like this, it's important that you keep things consistent. These are vampires, and you want people who are watching to become immersed in this world where vampires are real. I know they tried to tint the entire movie with this horrible greenish color, and this is probably not only to just emulate the weather patterns of the area, but also to hide the discoloration that is bleeding through these people's makeup. Honestly, Underworld did a much better job at making them look otherworldly. I'm not saying they were perfect, but when it came to the main characters, it wasn't as obvious as it is with the main characters in the Twilight movies, and you'll see even worse offenses of this later.
Bill, how do you feel?
Good.
Look here. You might experience some post-traumatic stress or disorientation, but your vitals look good. No signs of any head trauma. I think you'll be just fine.
I'm so sorry, Bella. I'm really...
Maybe it's all, his experience as a vampire, having lived as long as he did, but how can you really tell that she's okay just by looking in her eyes? How do you know there's not any internal bleeding? He didn't even check her blood pressure. He didn't check her neck. He didn't ask her about any bruising. All he did was shine a light in her eyes and did a stupid Calvin Klein expression like he's shooting a cologne commercial and decided that she was okay. Her father trusts the doctor because, I guess he's not one, but I would have thought with all his experience of being a police chief, he would have seen people who were hurt being checked over by the EMTs. This is his daughter, and he doesn't speak up and ask the doctor, hey bro, are you gonna go ahead and go behind and check her vitals? We know that the doctor wasn't with her before because this is the first time she's met him, and as he comes through, he's greeting her, so we know it's the first time he's seeing her.
I heard the chief's daughter was here.
See, he comes in walking like he's in a Baywatch TV show. Baywatch was a TV show, right? I think so. Anyway, it's only now that she decides to tell Carlisle that Edward had saved her and knocked her out of the way.
I mean, he got to me so fast, he was nowhere near me.
Sounds like you were very lucky.
Assuming that she and everybody else don't know that Edward probably told Carlisle first what happened, how the hell would he know whether or not she's actually okay and not still just in shock? He literally comes in, takes the chart that the nurse filled out, and is like, does a quick glance over it, and he's talking to her while he's doing it, and he's like, follow my finger, let me see if your eyes dilate. Maybe I'm more aware of it because my mom is a nurse and my aunt's a doctor, and I got to see some of that experience in the medical field, and when we were watching movies, my mom would call out bullshit with certain things that made no sense medically. But when you're in a state of adrenaline, sometimes you don't feel pain until many hours later, and you could be bleeding internally or something, and you have no idea until later. What if she has a punctured lung because a van happened to hit her back onto her vehicle? Doctors that come in with every doctor I've gone to, I don't know if the person who wrote this or directed this went to any doctor visits, but usually what will happen is if it's a serious accident or something that could have been really bad, the nurse will go in first and take your vitals and ask you a whole bunch of questions. Then the doctor will follow up and take your blood pressure most of the time, unless it's like super, super busy, which is a small little town, I'm guessing it's not. want, but he certainly would check over, ask her certain questions, or feel her up. Not that way, you know what I mean? As the doctor, there are certain things that he is better experienced to handle than the nurse is. Things that he knows to look for that the nurse probably doesn't. It's his patient, the nurse is there to help lighten the load, but the doctor is the final say and has to go back behind the nurse to make sure. I hate when they make chick flicks like this and they do the bare minimum. And it makes us girls look stupid and gullible, way more than we already are. People are probably not paying attention to this, but you're showing this on a screen. You can't just gloss over it like you do in a book and say, oh, the doctor looked over me and made sure I was okay. You made it a point to showcase it on screen, so at least make it believable. If somebody else is in a situation like this, and this is the only movie they have to go off of when it comes to what to do, the victim of an attack or injury would probably not even realize they're injured enough to even take measures to go to the doctor in the first place. Jesus Wheezes. Bella is cleared like instantly, and she goes around the corner and she catches Carlisle talking to Rosalie and Edward. She overhears Rosalie saying that Edward has to think about all of them as if they're all upset that he risked exposing what they are by saving Bella. Carlisle tries to quiet the conversation as Bella calls over Edward to confront him about what happened.
How did you get over to me so fast?
I was standing right next to you, Bella.
You were next to your car, across the lot.
No, I wasn't.
Oh my god, the gaslighting. I know he's trying to do damage control right now, but it's a little too late, bro. Bella refuses to let this go and digs in, saying that she knows what she saw, that she's not crazy, and despite him trying to make her look like that, she is 100% convicted that she saw what she saw. He's not very smart either. If he is that fast to get over from one side of the lot to the other and save her, why didn't he just save her and then get out of there as fast as he got there? He could have easily have done that, but no, he gets over to her super fast and then just stays there. Like, oh my god, now let me look at you extra long so you look into my eyes and see that it's me saving you. And yeah, let those neurons build their pathways. Yes, you smell me. All right, I'm gonna go now. And he could have easily have just speedily have gotten out of there, but he chose not to do that.
I know what I saw.
What exactly was that?
You pushed it away with your hand.
Well, nobody's gonna believe you.
She says the dude went Superman Hulk and stopped a very heavy moving object made of metal from pushing her insides onto her outsides. Then he's all like, well, persecution, you just won't thank me and just walk away. Like, humans act like that. No, they don't. She then has a seemingly very inappropriate dream about Edward Cullen, and she imagines him in her room watching her. She then becomes obsessed with him, and this is where the seed takes root. Not only was she already liking him because of his looks, but now he saved her life and he's super strong, so she's wondering what the hell he is. X-Men Marvel hero, what could it be? Anyways, I'm gonna break this review up into parts because this video is already really long, but I wanted to piece together everything that I thought about the movie, and just all my thoughts are too long to put into one video. Also, if you want to get more of this review, then share the video. Based on the views of this video, I guess I'll be able to tell how many people are interested. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.